You've made a few dollars, Harry, so why don't we have a little wager? $10,000 to a charity of your choice. I say Biden can't possibly win. You think he can. If Biden is not president come the day after the election, 10,000 to charity?
I mean, I personally don't bet on politics. I'm happy to have another bet to do something with charity. We can do something, absolutely no problem.
But you wouldn't put your money where your mouth is on Biden then?
I don't bet on politics. I mean, we can do something else. You can arrange it.
So everyone's favorite paid Biden influencer, Harry Sisson, went on Piers Morgan recently, and it was brutal. It may be arguably even worse than the last time he was on, because this time he's not just getting attacked by right-wingers or by Piers Morgan himself. He gets ganged up on by another leftist. So this woman right here you see on the left is apparently a Green Party Jill Stein voter. She is anti-Biden, and we'll take a listen in a second where she basically calls out the Biden shill that is Harry Sisson. So we're going to react to that today, but folks, if you enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and with that said, let's just get into this. It is kind of brutal.
One thing I would just say to Harry is, listen, I'm not in the cult. I already wasn't voting for Joe Biden because of the genocide in Gaza. I'm voting for Dr. Jill Stein. However, there were things that I liked about his domestic policy that I support, right? So Harry, if you love the Biden policies, don't you want a candidate that can actually talk about those policies, that can actually run on those policies and win? Because right now it's incredibly clear Biden is literally the weakest Democrat that you could possibly put up. And also, by the way, I'm sure that you're the type that thinks that Donald Trump getting reelected is dangerous, as I do, and it's an existential threat. You have no credibility to say those things anymore because you are sacrificing the chance to beat him to this cult of personality that you clearly have bought into.
And she does make some legitimate points there. If you really believed that Trump was some type of existential threat to democracy, which is of course ridiculous, but if you believe that, then wouldn't you want to put up a stronger candidate than Joe Biden? And you heard Biden in the ABC interview, they basically asked him, what are you going to do if you lose? And he says, it's okay so long as I tried my best. Like, that is not the right attitude if these things are true. But of course, we more so are getting the idea here that Harry's essentially a shill, and that's why he's just going along with Biden. But we also know on the flip side, if Biden were substituted, Harry tomorrow would drop all of this pro-Biden, like, worshipping, basically, and immediately get along with a new candidate. So it tells you a lot, but let's take a listen.
Oh, Crystal, come on now. You got to be voting for Joe Biden. I mean, when Donald Trump, if he wins and appoints a bunch of extreme justices, I'm sure you'll be upset at that vote at that point. No, Joe Biden has incumbency advantage.
I personally have a moral red line when it comes to genocide, okay? Call me crazy, but I do have a litmus test on that.
And then when Donald Trump is targeting journalists and like throwing them in jail, calling it an official act, I'm sure you'll have no problem.
Rubin, how are you, Dave?
If you think Donald Trump is going to lock you up and throw you in jail, wouldn't you want a candidate who could make that case, who could win? Because Joe Biden is behind the polls of every single swing state Democrat in the country. He's coming for you
as well. He's going to call him an official act, Crystal. He's coming for you as well.
That's why I want Biden to get out of the race so that Democrats have a better chance to win.
Maybe you should vote for Joe Biden as opposed to throwing away your vote to somebody who's not going to win.
If he wasn't doing a genocide, and maybe if there was someone else at the top of the ticket who wasn't quite so genocidal, I might vote for them.
Let me bring in Dave Rubin.
This is spectacular. A Biden voter fighting with a Jill Stein voter. Yeah, no, this is great. A Biden voter fighting with the Jill Stein voter.
We have open debate on our side.
Crystal, there is no genocide in Gaza. I can teach you about that another time. But this...
You have open debate on your side, really? Because they literally basically rigged the primary for Joe Biden, okay? They did not even hold it. You know, they abolished the classical Iowa caucus. They moved the primary to South Carolina as the first state, so that way Biden would win the most convincingly. Like, they shut this down, and now, Harry, you are currently shutting down the idea of a open convention or something. So I don't understand how this is exactly open debate. I'm not even saying you should do those things. I do want you to run Biden as your candidate, but just, you know, some things to consider here.
This is exactly what was going to happen with the Democrats. They created this ridiculous intersectional group of people, of radical leftists and socialists and progressives.
What are you talking about? If they were radical leftists, I might vote for them. Please.
And they were all going to implode at some point. The funny part of what's happening right now,
I don't even know what you're talking about right now, Dave.
The moderate group, I would say, the moderate Democrats are running cover for a man with dementia that obviously should not be president. Piers, what I'm worried about at the moment is, as weak as Biden is, and he's weak literally and electorally and figuratively, is that what's going to happen here is, if they are able to push him out, if the pressure just becomes too big to bear, that what we're going to see is overnight the same media that lied about all of this for 4 years by not covering his decline will suddenly bring in Kamala, or whether it's they figure out something with Hillary or Gavin or Gretchen Whitmer or whatever, and overnight you will watch the narrative flip from, oh, we got rid of the old guy and here's Kamala to save democracy from Orange Hitler Donald Trump. And we will see the media do it overnight, I guarantee you, once they push him out.
Let me ask Ty.
And by the way, Harry Sisson, the very guy who said, Joe Biden's gonna be the candidate, and he should be the candidate. All this talk about replacing him is ridiculous. How dare you counter-signal the greatest president ever, Joe Biden? You know immediately, whether it was Kamala or Gavin or Michelle, or if that happens, of course, which I don't know if it's gonna happen, but if it happens, you know Harry would immediately be on board, okay? And I'm sure he would get a very big paycheck to transition to the next candidate for sure. And that's, again, an interesting point because, you know, Harry's entire brand is that he's like the biggest Biden supporter to ever exist. Joe Biden is a perfect guy. He does no wrong, et cetera, et cetera. So if that were true, if that were kind of sincere or genuine, wouldn't you think, again, this is hypothetical, but if this happens, take a very close look at it. If Joe Biden was substituted out, do you think Mr. Big Biden supporter Harry would be like, why did they do this? This is a coup. This shouldn't have happened. Or do you think he would be, okay, I'm on board with the next Democrat, you guys? Again, keep that in mind because that tells you a lot. Because obviously I am a Trump supporter. I wouldn't even say I'm the level of Trump supporter that Harry Sisson is a Biden supporter, because you see how Harry is just, you know, the way he acts, it's a little weird, okay? I wouldn't say I go that far, but still, if they substituted Trump out at the RNC by some type of undemocratic coup, essentially, by the party elites, I, as a genuine Trump supporter, would not be like, okay, I guess we got to go along. No, I would be saying, this is bad. They forced him out. Why did they do this, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not down with what's going on in the party. Of course, if that happens in the Democrat Party, see what happens, because I would think you're not going to get as genuine of a response as maybe you would expect based on everything Harry has said about Biden so far. So just something to keep in mind. But okay, let's listen to a little more of this debate.
15 million jobs, historic investment in infrastructure, the largest since Eisenhower, expanding veterans' health care, capping insulin at $35 a month. The list goes on. Donald Trump couldn't dream of doing these things. So for me, as a young voter, I'm looking at who's going to get the job done, who's going to make the country better, and that's Joe Biden. Donald Trump has no policy to run on, and his defenders will go around saying, oh, the felonies don't matter, oh, the sexual abuse doesn't matter, oh, the business fraud doesn't matter, but then they have no policy to even justify voting for that guy.
Okay, just for the record, on the insulin, Donald Trump is the one who lowered the price of insulin by executive order. When Biden took office, he repealed the executive order, so he raised the price of insulin. And then about a year later, Congress voted to cap insulin at $35, and then Joe Biden signed that. So, I keep hearing them take credit for this, but let's just be clear about that record. Biden is the one who wanted to raise the price of insulin. Okay, he repealed the Trump era, but
can I just say
Harry, you're going to still be here when Joe Biden is long gone. So running cover for a guy that clearly is not capable of the job is not a long-term strategy for your career. That's just a little career advice for you. But in terms of the policies, look, I am not a Democrat.
For a sexual abuser is, Dave?
I don't support any of Joe Biden's policies, but the policies objectively have been horrible. 7 to 10, some people say 12 million illegals in this country in 3+ years. The interest rates, the mortgage rates, the crime in blue cities, the drugs that have been brought in, the fentanyl crisis. We have the disasters across the world that if we had projected any strength would not be happening. We all know all of this, and I say that as someone that doesn't support the guy, but as an American, it's like getting onto a plane. Would you prefer that the pilot be able to actually fly the plane or not? So whether I like the policies or not, or agree or not, I would like the president to be competent, to be able to literally say one sentence without slurring or getting confused.
Hold on. You heard it here first, folks. Dave.
In fairness, I got to disagree a little bit with Dave Rubin there because, personally, I think Harry Sisson's career will be just fine. Because obviously we see, I mean, I'm sure he's really a liberal. I'm sure he's really a Democrat. But the whole Biden TikTok thing is obviously an act. It's a character he puts on. And the moment that Biden either is replaced or he loses or he's out, whatever, you know he's just going to go on to the next thing, right? So if Trump ends up beating Biden in November, of course, everyone's going to get their 7 days where everyone gets to make fun of Harry Sisson for all the shilling he did. But after that, he's just going to make the videos about Trump, right? And I'm sure the Democrat consultants see how loyal he was to Joe Biden. They see how much he was unquestioning of whoever the Democrat nominee was. They're going to turn around to that and say, okay, well, you know what? He's a shill, but he's a very good one. Let's move on to something else, okay? Let's have him shill this other Democrat, that other guy. So either way, folks, I think that, honestly, Harry will have a long career in the Democrat Party. Of course, perhaps maybe the only thing that will jeopardize it is the fact that he's obviously a white kid. And we obviously know that is sort of starting to become illegal in the Democrat Party. But lastly, folks, Piers Morgan actually challenges Harry to a bet here on whether or not he thinks Biden will win the election. And I think it tells you a lot, okay? And I'll tell you why in a second, but take a listen.
You've made a few dollars, Harry, so why don't we have a little wager? $10,000 to a charity of your choice. I say Biden can't possibly win. You think he can. If Biden is not president come the day after the election, $10,000 to charity?
I personally don't bet on politics. I'm happy to have another bet to do something with charity. We can do something, absolutely no problem.
But you wouldn't put your money where your mouth is on Biden then?
I don't bet on politics. I mean, we can do something else. You can arrange it. I'm happy to donate money to charity. Let's do like St. Jude or something like that.
But just to be clear, you wouldn't do a charity bet if it's Biden involved.
I wouldn't bet on a Democratic race that's 99% likely for the Democrat. I just don't bet on politics. It's fundamental.
Right. Even though it's 99.9% certain that Biden will win, you think?
Yeah, even though I think Biden will win, and people will reject the convicted felon, the sexual abuser, yeah, I personally don't bet on politics.
Okay.
So that is very, very interesting, right? So Pierce approaches Harry and says, look, let's do a friendly $10,000 bet. If Biden wins, I'll donate the $10,000. If you win, $10,000. Okay. That's very interesting, right? So all this trash that Harry Sisson talks, Joe Biden is going to win the election by a landslide. The American people are going to reject. When Piers Morgan approaches him and says, okay, let's make a $10,000 bet, notice how Harry gets cold feet. Now, obviously, okay, Harry can run the line, I don't bet on politics. But if it's really true that it's 99% probability, that's an investment, that is smart money to play, in my opinion. But still, okay, at the same time, yes, $10,000 is a lot of money, but I'll just tell you this, Harry Sisson has a lot of money, okay? So, it's not a ton of money. But I think the greater point here is that if Harry Sisson really believed that Joe Biden was some type of invincible political force and was so confident that he would win the election, why not take the bet? Why not do it? Because if $10,000 is really too much money for Harry, you could always lower the amount of the bet. Like, I'm not sure I would bet $10,000, but maybe if it were 1,000, 2,000 on the election, yeah, like I would do something like that, right? But notice how he's not willing to do that. I think what it really tells you is that deep down, despite the fact that he's basically a Democrat Party Joe Biden surrogate, he kind of knows that, yeah, maybe Joe Biden is not cognitively the best. Yes, he's not in a strong political position. And it's just not a bet I'm willing to take here. It's just not worth it, right? That at least is the way I see it. I don't know. You guys can feel free to let me know what you see. Maybe he's telling the truth in fairness. He doesn't want to bet on politics, but I'm just saying, I think if it were a position where Polymarket and the polls and everything had Joe Biden winning the election, I wouldn't be surprised if Harry would be more inclined to take that bet, but maybe he really knows the truth. Just something to think about. With that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on this entire panel in the comment section down below. What do you think of Harry Sisson as a character? Be sure to let me know. Leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.